From the News Channel 5 Network, this is OpenLine.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to OpenLine. So glad you could join us on this Monday evening. I'm Carrie Sharp, and I have quite the panel with me here today to talk about a very serious topic and one that I think needs talked about, and that is gun violence in our community. And I have three folks here with me who know a whole lot about that and who are working to stop it. Let me introduce you to my panel. I have Earl Jordan, the founder, president, and CEO of Partners in the Struggle. I also have Talia Simmons here with me. You are the mother of a murdered son. We're going to hear your story and talk about your son coming up in just a little bit. And also John Gazaway, also the father of a murdered son and one of our local pastors. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
And Talia and John, just, you know, I know from the folks who are watching to myself, just, you know, I'm sorry for what you have gone through. I just want to say that right off the bat. I can't imagine the struggle. I have two sons of my own, and it's heartbreaking to think about. So I'm sorry for what you've gone through, but I'm so glad that you are here to be part of this and to talk about solutions. And part of that is what Partners in the Struggle is doing. Tell me, Earl, what you guys are all about. It's a big question, isn't it?
Well, not too big. 18 years. Started Partners in the Struggle back in 1998. Inspired by the birth of my daughter, Denise Jordan, call her KK. In the year of 1995, when she was born, September 23rd, we had a large volume of homicides in Nashville. A lot of them including children. And just being a first-time father, I thought, you know, what would I do if something like that was happening to my daughter?
Yeah.
You know, so it wasn't under God to just open up this mission in my vessel for me to do. I didn't think it would be me selected. But as I will watch countlessly, as I'm doing, you know, right now in the month of December, with homicides happening in our city, you know, and just seeing it, you know, it just compelled me to do something. And like I said, again, I wrestled with it for about 2 years. And right around 97, I said, you know, I'm going to create something where we can support the families, speak out against all the senseless murders and gun violence that's going on in our city and nationally. And so in 1998, I created Partners in the Struggle.
And as we talk about more about what Partners in the Struggle does, I want to invite you at home, if you have been touched by gun violence, if you would like to share your story with us, go ahead and give us a call. If you have questions about gun violence in our community, why it's happening, what are the solutions? I know I have those questions. Let's talk about it tonight. So go ahead and give us a call. The number's at the bottom of the screen, 615-737-PLUS. And our part of Partners in the Struggle is to go first along the family members, the victims' family members, and support them. How do you do that?
Well, you know, I am what you call a lone wolf when it comes to what I do. I don't have any board. I don't have any partnerships per se as far as helping me do what I do. Because I really believe that God said, okay, Earl, I know you're the one that can do this. And so I work very, very hard. And a lot of times, you know, I can see something on the news like tonight, you know, of a family, you know, having a loved one murdered. And I will get in contact with that family by any means necessary, whatever you need for us to do. If this murder stays unsolved for a long period of time, you know, we conduct a lot of events, you know, creating this we can put it in the public eye, in front of the media, you know, these unsolved murders. So I do whatever God put in my heart to do. And it's been blessed for 18 years. I mean, I work hard at it. Sometimes, you know, I don't sleep. You know, that might not be a good thing, but it helps me because I know I have family members who are part of Partners in the Struggle, who need that support, and I try my hardest to make sure that if it's just a phone call and a joke or a laugh, to get them uplifted. That's what I try to do. So we do what we need to do in order to make sure that any family is supported by any means necessary.
Because no family wants to be or asked to be in this position, and most are just caught completely by surprise when they get that knock at the door, right? Talia, tell me your story. Your son was murdered almost 20 years ago now, right? Yours was 4 years ago, I'm sorry.
June 9, 2012. My oldest son, Antoine Covington Jr., went to a Sweet 16 party in Antioch to a friend of his, and him and some other friends went. They got out the car, and some guys were shooting, and they killed my son.
So he just stepped out of a car and was shot?
Yep, stepped out of the car, and as soon as he stepped out, they were shooting, and he got shot.
And I'm sure you got that knock at the door. What happened?
Well, what actually happened, it started trending on Twitter. At the time, Twitter had just started blowing up, and when it started trending on Twitter, my son up under my oldest son came to me and said, "Hey, Mama, Twan been shot." So we didn't know if it was true or not. So what happened, a friend of his came to my house with my sons and his mom. They had already heard about it, and we just started trying to find out what was going on. So me and my husband got up, got in the car and started driving, and we ran into the scene.
Oh my goodness. And you were telling me that you know the boys, the young men who did this.
Yes, ma'am. They were friends of my son. They've stayed in my house. We've had birthday parties. They've, been invited. I treated them like my own. Never thought in a million years that, the same people that were cool with my son would take his life.
Have you had the chance to hear from them? Why did they do this?
Well, they say they were trying to shoot at somebody else that was with my son. It's not
Doesn't
an
make it any better, no.
Right now, they don't have a lot of remorse. I think they're still angry of what happened. They're incarcerated. So right now, they don't have, much remorse right now.
And how long were they sentenced to?
One guy was sentenced to 20 years. One guy was sentenced to 8. The guy with 8 years would have been out in 3 years if I hadn't petitioned the court.
And they're keeping him in?
Yes, ma'am.
Wow, that's a powerful story. Shot
Yes,
by your
ma'am.
own friends.
Yes, ma'am.
Murdered.
Yes, ma'am. That's one of the issues we have with our kids. Sometimes they think people are their friends and don't realize, sometimes you can hang with the wrong crowd.
I want to talk more about that. John, I also want to hear your story.
My son Derek, he was a beautiful spirit. He was a jokester, enjoyed life, loved to work. Then I was doing construction work, and I taught him how to pour concrete and lay block, brick, operate heavy equipment. And I knew his life was going to be exciting because he was so energetic and so into life. And laying in the bed that night that he was murdered, the phone rang, and it was a young man on there screaming and hollering, said, "They killed Derek, they killed Derek." I said, "We're in Clarksville." I said, "What?" Derek didn't go to Clarksville. So I couldn't understand why he would be there. And so in disbelief, I said, well, he's got to be mistaken. I drove to Clarksville. And sure enough, and I was so angry. I was so angry. And I had to pray quickly because I wanted to reach out and touch someone, And in unbelief, that someone could take a kid's life like him. And when I found out what was happening, they were shooting at somebody else.
Right.
And hit him in the head, and then they ran over him with a car. So either
So
one
sorry.
could have taken his life. And because that evening, when he left, he said, "Dad, I'm going to put the brakes on the pickup." Okay, I showed him how to do mechanic work, and said he enjoyed that kind of stuff. And when I heard he was in Clarksville, I said, "No," because he had my toolbox. I didn't know he was working on this little pickup truck. And so it came as a total shock, surprise. It just threw me, and I really didn't know which way to go or what to do except talk to the Lord and ask for strength and to remove that anger, because I just wanted to. Revenge is something I know we're not supposed to even think of, but when something like that happens, and it's all nonsense and foolishness, it brings the human out in you.
That's right.
So Adam had gotten into me, and I'm glad I've got a spirit too that sits on the other shoulder and whispers in this ear and tell me, vengeance is mine, said the Lord, and I will repay. And at the trial, I was strong, and he was standing there in front of me, and the judge asked me if you wanted to say anything. I said no. I just wanted to see his face. He wouldn't even look around. And it took all I could do. I guess if I'd have been your side, I
To
probably
make him
would've
look
went
up and stare you in your eyes.
I would have went over, But but they knew that they needed to protect him as well.
Right.
Because when something like that happens, and you've seen fights even break out in courtrooms, and so I'm glad that I know Mary's baby Jesus, and that he speaks to us continually. And even now, it hits you like a ton of bricks, especially around this time of year, And I've had to preach funerals of young people, and And I've seen him encourage those families that were suffering and probably like me, angry, and try to be a light in their lives. So I partner with him. I appreciate him for the effort he's doing. My only wish is that we could get more pastors and churches involved with him in this movement, and really express our sincere thoughts, come together, drop our little denominational differences, and realize that's a greater problem than our little denominational differences that we have in churches.
And we're going to talk about this problem and talk about different solutions and what you're doing, Earl, and why we're wearing these ribbons with polka dots on them. All that when we come back. Stay with us. Much more to come.